So the first societies were hunting and gathering societies, and what I want you to know about them, and these are key words for the test. Hunting and gathering, follow the food source. Follow the food source. You can't stay in one place. You got to move from site to site. You got to follow the food. You don't plant food here and grow it. That's agrarian societies. Here, you got to be mobile. You got to put your house on your back. You got to follow where the food are going, and you got to hunt all the time because you have no food to eat and you can't preserve it. So every day you carry water, you hunt. 85% of human evolution is in hunting and gathering time. So through the eons until modern times, almost all our time was hunting and gathering, the great majority of time, to develop to where we get today. Now here, there is no surplus. You with me? The Plains Indians is an example of this too. And human beings, when you lose your hair and you can run, you can sweat. When you sweat, it gets on your skin, and when it gets on your skin, the wind, when you're running, blows it and dries it, and it cools you, and you can run for long distances, we humans, 26 miles, 30 miles. A deer can't do that. So you start running the deer and scaring them and head them into a closed area where they can't go up cliffs, and you run them down this path. And then 5 miles down, you tag another group of people who run them. And 5 miles from that, you tag somebody else and they run them. And pretty soon they get down to the end of the canyon, and you walk up and they can't move, and bop, there's dinner. Make sense? So these are clans. These are people that know one another. And they work and they all survive. So it's survival only. Now, horticultural is primitive farming. And this is real primitive. It's the hoe that you dig the trench with, and you put a few kernels in, and you poke a hole in the ground, because the next time you come by hunting and gathering, there'll be some berries for you to eat. Now, agrarian is when we harness human and animal power to do the work. This is when people learn to use horses, mules, human power to plow, pull a plow. Now, agrarian societies develop when you can create a surplus. So put down, create a surplus, and typically it's food. Now, every great society develops from a food source that you can preserve. One is corn, another is potatoes. Now, you can take those potatoes and mash them down and put them in straw, and you can keep them, and when your crop fails, then you have potatoes you can eat. You can stay alive with the food surplus. Once you create a surplus, you don't have to move all the time. Does that make sense to you? Because you can grow your own food here. Now look what's going to happen to a house here that you can stay 2 or 3 years in the same place. You can add rooms all the time. And you can make it bigger and make it nicer. And you can expand. And you can develop floors, and you can develop roofs, and you can develop walls, and create shelter, and plant crops, and use animals to pull the plows. And now somebody can make a plow, because when you create a surplus, now everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. People can now diversify. Somebody that hates to be a farmer likes to work with metal, can now create welding. And they can put metal together and build plows that you can pull stumps out of the ground with mules. And you can clear land, and you can plant crops, and you can rotate them and irrigate them. and you can learn how to grow food and seeds, and you can feed yourself and create a surplus. Now, when you get here, this will create a marketplace. Because now you can take your surplus, whatever it is, to a gathering of people at a certain time every year, and you can show up with a bunch of wheat, and you can trade it for chickens and a rooster to people that can't make bread, but they have chickens and roosters. You can trade your wheat for a plow to make even more wheat. And the person with the plow can go home with wheat. So they can make bread and eat, and you trade, and you barter. And so bartering and trading starts here, and the marketplace develops. So industrial, keyword, harnessing machine power to do the work of humans and animals. Now we have a cotton gin that picks the cotton and picks the cotton off, and a weaver that weaves the cotton into clothing. And now we can make massive amounts of clothing, and we can create factories. And people will move from the farm into the cities, and this is when sociology develops. The Industrial Revolution, you remember? The time when we're wondering, how do we get all these people to work together? With that, we'll call it a day.